His voice was like whiskey laced with cigarette smoke. He, dressed in a suit, always with a cigarette in hand. She, with a cat-like gait that actresses around the world would later emulate. That's when their love was born, and it stayed on screen forever. Cinematic chemistry, even between takes. When the cameras stopped rolling, they became a family, and Humphrey Bogart became the king of Hollywood's golden age. Today, we're talking about two children who lived after the final credits rolled. What path did they choose in the shadow of such an iconic name? What does it mean to be the son of the most charismatic man of the 20th century? Stephen Humphrey Bogart was born in January 1949 under the warm California sun. His father was already a legend by then. His mother, an icon in her own right. He arrived into a world of spotlights and whispered rumors, camera flashes and midnight parties that ran on gin and jazz. At home, he was simply Stevie, a boy who liked the ocean, who rode his bike down palm-lined streets. But his father was never just Dad, he was Bogart. Then, in 1957, Stephen was only 8 when cancer took his father away. There were no final speeches, no dramatic confessions like in the movies, just silence. What does a child do with that kind of silence? Some kids rebel, some run. Stephen searched. As he grew, he left California behind, attended Milton Academy in Massachusetts, studied English at the University of Pennsylvania. Later, he shifted to communications, as if words might finally build a bridge back to a father who'd slipped away too soon. He married young, at just 20, maybe trying to anchor himself early, start his own story. It didn't last. He drifted through more schools, Boston University, then the University of Hartford, always chasing something, or maybe running from something else. While Hollywood waited for him to step into the spotlight, Stephen chose newsrooms over film sets. He became a producer, a quiet storyteller, someone who could shape narratives, but keep his own face behind the camera. He made documentaries. He helped others tell their truths. In the 90s, he finally wrote it down. Not a glossy biography, but a raw, searching book. Bogart, In Search of My Father. It wasn't about Humphrey the movie star. It was about Bogart the dad, a man who was sometimes distant, sometimes tender, often distracted by the haze of cigarette smoke and cocktail parties. Stephen wasn't trying to cash in on the family name. He was trying to figure out who his father really was, and by extension, who he was. Because how do you separate the myth from the man? How do you grow up under a giant's shadow and not become just a ghost of him? Over time, Stephen found his own quiet place within the legacy. He became the guardian of the Bogart name, but on his own terms. He organizes the annual Humphrey Bogart Film Festival in Key Largo. He speaks at retrospectives, signs copies of his books, not to keep the legend alive for the world, but maybe to keep it close for himself. Today, he lives by the sea in Naples, Florida, still writes, still searches. 3 marriages, 2 children, countless questions he may never fully answer. But he's learned to wear the name Bogart, not as a burden, but as a thread connecting him to a father he barely knew. Maybe that's what it really means to be the son of the most charismatic man of the 20th century. She was born 3 years after her brother, into the same golden cage of Hollywood royalty. She was named Leslie Howard Bogart, in honor of actor Leslie Howard, who had supported Humphrey in his career and even once threatened Warner Brothers that he would walk away from filming if the role in The Petrified Forest was not given specifically to Bogart. Leslie was only 5 when her father died, too young to remember his laugh in full color, too young to ever sit with him over an old record and hear his stories about New York bars and broken hearts. What she had instead were photographs, film reels, newspaper clippings, a father immortalized for the world, but a stranger in her own living room. She grew up under the same last name as her brother, but chose a very different path. No books, no film festivals, no long interviews to dissect what it meant to be Bogart's daughter. Leslie moved quietly through the world, almost like she was deliberately dodging the spotlight. She became a nurse, not an actress or a model, though with her mother's striking features, she certainly could have. She chose to heal, not perform, to hold hands in hospital rooms, instead of shaking them at glamorous parties, to listen to heartbeats, not applause. In the 1990s, Leslie married Eric Schiffman, a yoga teacher known for his calm energy and spiritual depth. Together, they built a life far from the studio lots and tabloid gossip, in Santa Monica, close to the ocean, surrounded by sun and salt air, but miles away from Hollywood's glitter. People still ask, why didn't she do more with the name Bogart? As if the only way to honor a legend is to step on stage and wave the family banner. But maybe Leslie understood something deeper. She still supports the preservation of her parents' memory, stands by her brother at Bogart events when he asks. But she never let the name swallow her whole. In that way, her life might be the most graceful answer to the question, what becomes of the children of legends? Lauren Bacall was more than the sultry eyes and the smoky voice that made men lose their train of thought.
I came to say goodbye.
What?
We're leaving now. Thanks for everything.
Hey, Slim, are you still happy?
What do you think?
She was sharp, independent, almost stubborn in her certainty about who she was, long before she ever became Mrs. Bogart. After Bogey died, she was left alone at just 32. A widow with 2 small children and a ghost that would never stop following her. Reporters hovered, eager for scandal. Studios kept calling. Lauren loved Bogart deeply. That never changed. She once said he was the love of her life, but she didn't let grief drown her. She acted on stage and screen, wrote, traveled. My husband was the most extraordinary man ever to walk this earth. I spent 12 years of my life with him, and he gave me more happiness than most women ever get to experience. Words can't capture how brilliant, loving, patient, and funny he was. It seemed that with Bogart, joy itself had left her life. But then came Frank Sinatra. At first, a friend ready to support her. Later, a suitor, old blue eyes. With him, boredom was impossible, and yet the engagement fell through. Frank was an incorrigible heartbreaker, while Lauren longed for peace. 4 years later, she married actor Jason Robards, a future 2-time Oscar winner. Lauren herself would also receive that honor in 2009 for her contribution to cinema. In 1961 in New York, Lauren and Jason welcomed a son, Sam Robards. He studied at Sarah Lawrence College and at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center, following the family calling. He first married actress Susie Amos, and they had a son, Jasper. But the marriage ended. Later, Sam married Danish model Sidsel Jensen, and together they had 2 sons, Calvin and Sebastian. Sam never became a Hollywood superstar, but he built a steady, respected acting career in film, on television, and most of all on stage, where he is best known. Lauren called her son the only good thing that marriage had given her. She left the movies more than once, only to return to Broadway. There she acted and sang. And then Hollywood would call her back again. She wrote her memoirs, Lauren Bacall, By Myself. In them, she recalled her reckless youth and her years with Bogart. The sequel, Now, she dared to publish only at the age of 81. Lauren passed away in 2014, just a month shy of her 90th birthday. She was called one of the last icons of Hollywood's golden age. The actress never thought of herself as a legend, treated old age with irony, smoked heavily, and remained a true lady until her very last day. When people think of Lauren Bacall, they picture the young siren with the low voice who taught Bogart how to whistle. But maybe her greatest role was off-screen, as the mother who held the family together long after the final credits rolled. She showed Stephen and Leslie how to live with a legend and not get lost in it. Neither of them became a tragic Hollywood cautionary tale. Neither of them cashed in on the Bogart name with reality shows or tabloids or scandalous memoirs. For a last name as famous as theirs, their lives turned out remarkably normal. Because a surname is just letters stitched together. It's not a promise of fame, it's a weight. So what would you do if you carried a name the whole world recognized? Would you sell it, hide beneath it, or live in a way that makes it truly worthy? Subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments whose story you'd like to hear next. Thanks for watching.